You are listening to Unravel with Natly Denise.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Happy Monday to you, and good morning to you if you listen to me in the morning as a morning show. This is Nightly with Natly, a segment of Unravel with Natly Denise. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a very productive weekend. I'm about to produce 1 out of 3 series, the Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell series. Of course, after you see the first video, you'll understand why it's separated out. But I will be producing that. That first one will be coming out very soon. We're talking about weeks. So this has been like over a year that I've been researching. I've been collaborating. I've been finding out a lot more, and finally it's come out. It's coming out. The truth is coming out. It's a lot, and it's going to be like a freight train. And it's gonna. Woof! It's a lot of work. It's been a lot of work doing this. I'm telling you, it's been a lot of work. I thought I was going to put it all together, but it's more respectable if I separate it out. Anyway, with that being said, it was very productive. I got a little bit distracted here. I'm going to read some of your guys' comments. What's going on? What's up, Keem? Thank you so much for modding for me. Ken, what's up? Hi, everyone from West Virginia. What's up, Nikki? EK says, can't stand to hear a kind word about Bob Saget. Well, we're going to talk about that. And I think I'm going to fulfill your wishes because I got an article and I think it's more appropriate, but we'll see. Hello, Natly, good day, chat. Blessings. Hey, Scott. What's up, Mark? Much love from Santa Fe, New Mexico. What's going on? I'm bummed about CW. CW. What's the acronym? What is it? CW. Natly, you remembered, Rana? Yes, I did, Rana. Don't know how you do it now, but I usually catch a lot of news commentary shows before I catch your nightly show, and somehow your show is always fresh to me. Oh, thank you, the only Warrenly. Thank you. 10 o'clock Chicago's time was number 10. Thanks. Thumbs up. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the news today. I do have some articles, of course, as mentioned. I don't know why this is showing the Grinch, but let's refresh this. Now it'll show a fresh thumbnail if it is animated. Bob Saget, he has recently died over the past few hours, it was reported. And I know that a lot of people are like, mixed about how they want to approach this, but a lot of other people have been like, nah, let's be real about how he was in real life. And this article sort of does cover that. Bob Saget's jokes about drugs, sex, and death were rooted in tragedy. And boy, did he have a lot of jokes about drugs, sex, and death. In the late 80s, comedian Bob Saget became a household name in the sitcom Full House, playing Danny Tanner, an earnest widowed father of 3. That persona followed him as he also took the helm of America's Funniest Home Videos, which his family-friendly commentary made us think butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. But in real life, Saget was found dead in his Orlando hotel room on Sunday at the age of 65, was known in showbiz circles and comedy fans for his raunchy act and body sense of humor. This says the beloved. Is this a beloved comedian to you guys? Just let me know in the comments. Scott says, snatching wigs on a weekly basis. You know it. Snatching wigs on a daily basis. All right. I do this on the daily. But let me know, was Bob Saget beloved? Hits of nitrous oxide on the set of Full House admitted he was a flirter with other women in the final years of his first marriage and coped with drunken driving in the aftermath of his divorce. Oh, what is this? Continued on. I saw Bob on HBO's Rodney Dangerfield special 30 years ago. Entourage creator Doug Ellen told The Post he was this comic and he was kind of dirty. Then he did Full House. Yuck. Around 2004, before he even met Saget, Ellen scripted a hyperbolic version of the comic as a washed-up, hooker-loving womanizer living in a one-bedroom apartment for his HBO hit. He had lunch. We had lunch, he said, and he said, "I'll do anything you say except play a broke hookers or drugs. Yeah, that's fine, but I don't want to be broke." That was no sensitivity to anything else but being successful. It was important to him, said Ellen, who called Saget gracious, sweet, and incredibly smart. The role in Entourage and his 2005 in a filthy comedy documentary, The Aristocrats, took a jackhammer to this cheesy sitcom and dad image, both shocking and endearing fans, especially younger audience. You can see him with two hookers, it seems to be like. I remember when The Aristocrats come out, he said, people couldn't believe Bob Saget was talking that way. His friend and fellow comedian 𝘞𝘪𝑭𝘏𝑜𝑡𝑡 told the Post. But for the people who knew him, you can't believe he talked the other way. In his 2014 memoir, Dirty Daddy, The Chronicles of a Family Man Turned Filthy Comedian, he wrote of his frustration of being a typecast and asked mentor Dangerfield for advice. "I told him I was kind of sick of only doing family stuff and only wanted to move into edgier comedy, but I was concerned it was too late because people had a way of branding you with what they perceived you to be," he wrote. In 1998, he promoting the movie Dirty Work, which he directed, Saget told Howard Stern how he shocked live audiences while doing stand-up. "I'm like filthy right now. All I could do is curse and fall down because I've been at an 8 o'clock television so long. It's like comedy Tourette's. It's like that's what I'm like though. I was even filthy when I would do the shows. Full House and America's Fighting." Okay, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Nope. Everyone's like, nope. So my question was, is he beloved? And everybody's like, nope. Very, very bad. Almost the only Warnley says, most of us didn't know he was a scumbag until we all grew up and he wasn't on TV anymore. Ken says, allegedly, he took his third cocoa shot. Thank you for using cocoa. Thank you so much for coding that word. I appreciate you. Allegedly, he took his third cocoa shot weeks before. Greg Gutfield was based out of Saget on 5 Today. Did you catch the clips on his roast? Yes, sure did. And it was pretty revealing of who Bob Saget was. So anyways, with that being said, apparently he has died. What do you guys think about his death, to be honest? Because they say it was of natural causes. They're saying that nothing was wrong, that this was completely just a normal thing. Bob Saget. Oops, let me go to here. People are actually flocking to his home, it seems to be. Bob Saget was found in his hotel by his hotel cleaner after missing checkout, a report says. Bob Saget, the way he was found dead in Florida in his hotel room bed by the housekeeper after he missed checkout time. The cleaner made a grim discovery when she entered his room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando at about 4 p.m. Sunday, an hour after the 65-year-old was due to check out, a source told People. The Full House stars' bags were already packed by the door and the room was neat, the magazine said. There were reportedly no signs of disturbance or trauma. After the 911 call, the housekeeping manager performed CPR on Saget until paramedics arrived. The Orange County Sheriff's Department had earlier revealed that Saget was pronounced dead on scene. His official cause of death has yet to be determined, but investigators said they found no signs of foul play or drug use in this case. Saget had been staying at the hotel for several days after he performed his stand-up I Don't Give Negative comedy tour nearby. He had performed a show on Saturday night and tweeted a selfie at 3:45 a.m. about how great his set had gone. Love tonight's show was what the tweet said. Continued on, tributes have poured from his co-stars and fans in the wake of his shocking death. His family said at the statement that they are devastated. He was everything to us. He wanted to know how much he was loved by his fans, performing live, bringing people from all walks of life together with laughter, the Saget family said. Though we ask for privacy at this time, we invite you to join us in remembering the love and laughter that Bob brought to the world. Well, I mean, you guys are saying something different. Red Scarf and Doorknob don't believe the peacefully passed. He was a very dirty person. Anyone who wants to listen, who listened to him knew this. There was a reason he was chosen for the role he played, if you get what I'm saying. Hollywood's big secret, sickening. Hey. I get it. So I don't know. He was very proud to get his, you know what, his poke in the arm, his bloosters. So I don't know. I don't know what to believe because apparently he was very proud about that. They don't know the cause of death. There was no foul play, no nothing. So the people just like drop out like that. But apparently people were like coming to his house, John Stamos, Kelly Rizzo, his wife, Candace Cameron. I don't know half these celebrities, to be honest with you. So anyway, Bob Saget. Shoo-wee. I don't know, guys. I really don't. All right, let's pivot on. So Bob Saget, he died. We don't know what happened. We do know that he has quite a past in his comedy, we can call it. But yeah, I don't know that people are going to remember him as this clean family man as he so portrayed. All right, pivoting on. I think this is an important thing to report. Exposure to secondhand nicotine from vaping doubles risk of young adults developing a 𝘬𝘓 study finds. Now, the weird thing about vaping is that there's not a lot known about the health causes, like if it causes any health defect, you know what I mean, like health hazards. So I find this study very interesting. But of course, these studies sometimes are very funded by certain groups. And so sometimes it's not so much what they're actually studying, but how they're manipulating the study. But let's just see what they have to say. Because I think it's crazy that they're saying that secondhand vaping is what causes health effects and not the actual vaping on the actual person. Weird. Okay, so exposure to secondhand nicotine from vaping doubles the risk of young adults wheezing, researchers have warned. Using a vape or an e-cigarette has become increasingly popular in the recent years, but little is known about the possible health effects of the secondhand exposure to the vapor expelled by the devices. A new study has found it's linked to heightened risk of coughing, wheezing, and shortness of breath in young people who don't smoke or vape themselves. That's strange. I mean, like with cigarettes, I feel like that's different, right? Because I feel like cigarettes are a lot more harsh. The intake is a lot, like, how do I explain it? A little bit more intense, I guess you would say. There's tobacco, it's more residual, versus vaping is just like vapor. So I don't know. Secondhand, I could definitely see the study with secondhand smoke and regular smoking, but vapes? The only warnly. Oops, where'd I go? Where'd I go? Am I back? I don't know what that was. Test 1, 2, 3. I don't know what the heck. Why is it echoing? Weird. Test. All right. I don't know why it's echoing or what. Audio, mic, speaker. Test, test, test. Can you guys hear me? Is that better? Is that better? I don't know what that was. Is there a echo? Can you guys hear an echo now? I hope not. Okay, so anyway. All right, well, this is a comment I wanted to highlight. The Only Warnly says, I've been doing the Juul for 3 years now. I don't even think about the cigarettes anymore. I don't have any issues, no coughing, no wheezing. All right, interesting. Vaping was awful for me because many couldn't tell you they came out so to contain metals, and I'm allergic, trying to get my lungs back in shape. All right, perfect. All right, so now it's good. I don't know what the heck happened to, I don't know. I like exited out the stream and then I re-entered and all of a sudden it's good again. So anyway, okay, so there's not a lot. Let me continue on. Sorry about that. Let me continue on. There's not a lot known about vaping. So I don't know. These studies seem to be funded at one point. They seem to be that, some people have certain agendas. So I'm just going to say that little is very known about vaping. A lot of people that I know that do vape, they do attest that nothing has happened to them, that they feel fine. And it's much better than cigarettes. I will say that. So results published by the journal Thorax revealed that those exposed to secondhand nicotine from vaping did not smoke or vape themselves. They were more than twice as likely to report wheezing compared to those who had not been exposed. They were also 3 times as likely to report bronchitic symptoms and twice as likely to report shortness of breath. But also, I will say that I have seen studies where researchers will debunk those studies and say, look, those are funded studies by someone who has an agenda. So I'm just going to pivot on. I'm just going to say this is a weird study because why is it that it's secondhand vape and not like firsthand vape? I think that people should be focused on firsthand vape and not the latter. Does that make any sense to you? Someone said, I don't hear the echo now, but that was pretty cool. Do it again. Nah, I don't want to. It kind of freaks me out. I'm like, what the heck? There's like this glitch. There's like 2 people on my stream right now, me and me. So anyway, let's continue on. Sorry, I don't mean to spend so much more time. All right, next article coming from the RT. Patient gets an animal heart in breakthrough surgery. An American hospital patient in the state of Maryland is reportedly stable condition days after he received an experimental pig heart transplant as their last result. David Bennett consented to the experimental transplant after realizing it was his final shot at surviving terminal heart disease due to his ineligibility to receive a human heart. It was either die or do this transplant. I want to live, so this is a shot in the dark, but it's my last choice, he said before the surgery took place. While the experiment appears to have been successful, with Bennett breathing on its own just 3 days after the operation, he remains connected to the heart-lung machine, which his condition will continue to be monitored in the next several weeks. This organ transplant demonstrated for the first time that the genetically modified animal heart can function like a human heart without immediate rejection by the body, said the University of Maryland School of Medicine, whose scientists performed the procedure. Bartley P. Griffith, who transplanted the pig heart into Bennett, claimed the breakthrough surgery brings mankind one step closer to solving organ shortage crisis. How do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about that? Like animal parts in your body? Like, if you're a Christian too, like, I want to know about, I don't know what to think, but that's kind of strange to me that it can be functional in your body. But also, there are other things that, we consume, and I don't know. I mean, there's always something. There's simply not enough donor human hearts available to meet the long list of potential recipients, Griffith explained. Adding that though the scientists are proceeding cautiously with their research, they're optimistic that this first-in-the-world surgery will provide an important new option for patients in the future. Ken says, my heart valve is bovine. Come on. No thanks. No thanks. People will take away the option and keep living. Any options to keep living. I agree. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. All right, pivoting on. Let's go to some trafficking news. Sexual exploitation, human trafficking news. So this is the Daily TrafficK, where I bring you the latest in human and sex trafficking news. So we're going to talk about John Griffin. As you guys know, John Griffin is the CNN producer. As of a couple weeks ago, I think it was in December. It was mid-December when this was reported. But John Griffin is he was the high-ranking producer for Chris Cuomo for years. There were pictures of them chummy. Well, John Griffin was arrested for child sexual exploitation, and now it's escalated a lot more. He's now accused of doing child sexual exploitation production. I believe, maybe I might be mistaken on that, but now he's being slapped with a $15 million civil suit amid a federal child trafficking case. John Griffin, the longtime CNN producer. So I guess this is more of an update to, all of the allegations that have been alleged on this really sick man. He was caught in drone footage with a 9-year-old girl. I think the 9-year-old girl was like standing naked to him and he was in his underwear, something like that. Or maybe it was the vice versa. John Griffin, the longtime CNN producer fired last month over child trafficking allegations, has been named in a Connecticut civil lawsuit alleging despicable acts of horrific sexual abuse and exploitation. For several years prior to 2020, the defendant solicited young girls, including the minor plaintiff, for the purpose of knowingly persuading, inducing, enticing, and coercing them into engage in sexual activity, sexual exploitation, and/or sexual trafficking, the lawsuit filed last week in Bridgeport alleges. Criminally, Griffin faces 1 trafficking charge along with 2 counts of attempted trafficking in federal court in Vermont after allegedly soliciting parents with underage children. Continued on, between April and July of 2020, Griffin allegedly invited 3 women and their underage girls, their daughters, over for purposes of sexual training. According to the federal indictment, only the Nevada woman took him up on his offer, according to the prosecutors. The suit, filed on behalf of 9-year-old Jane Doe and custodial next best friend Janet Doe, is seeking up to $15 million in damages and fees. Some allegations mirror those in 2020 Nevada criminal complaint against the victim's adoptive mother and the federal indictment on Griffin announced last month. Griffin allegedly paid the Nevada woman more than $3,000 to fly to Boston and then stay at his multi-million-dollar Vermont vacation home for a week of sex crimes that involved her adopted daughter. The evidence against Griffin allegedly includes drone video he took of showing a completely naked 9-year-old girl standing next to him in his underwear, according to court filings. My question really quick, let me break and question really quick, because I do this very often within, my commentary. So this is my question here. Why did it take the FBI so long for them to nab this guy? This is insanity. Do we understand why? Okay, so their investigation was an entire year. So you're going to let an entire year go by continuously, and he's going to continuously abuse more children, more mother, you know what I mean? Well, the mothers should know. I'm sorry. I don't care how ignorant you are as a mother. I don't care what your background is. You as a mother should have never consented to anything like this. You as a mother should think this is the most egregious crime in the history of histories of histories. You understand? So I don't understand how the FBI was investigating this thing for an entire year, and it took them so long to arrest John Griffin, to indict this guy. And then he was a producer on CNN? How does it get this bad? All right, so back to it. So he was doing this. And women were actually they were actually going along with it. Oh, yeah, well, at least there was one mother. Oh, yeah, I'll submit my daughter to this stuff or whatever. We'll do this. When confronted with this video during the interview with FBI agents, Griffin's first response was merely to suggest he was not looking at the naked girl, despite that she was standing so close to him to be touching, the prosecutor's pretrial detention memo reads. Fox News is not using the woman's name to avoid exposing the child's victim's identity. Shortly after the woman's arrest in August of 2020, federal investigators seized electronics and storage devices belonging to Griffin. So this is the lawsuit right here. And this is a scribed and embedded document here. But no charges were announced until mid-December of 2021, prompting criticism from some former investigators who said they saw no legitimate reason for the delay. CNN fired the former Chris Cuomo producer after his first arrest. Prior to this arrest and indictment, we had no knowledge about the case, a CNN spokesperson told Fox News Digital. But you do know about one guy who currently probably still has a job with you. I haven't seen any updates when it comes to what is this name? 𝘱𝘿𝘬𝘮𝘢. 𝘱𝘿𝘬𝘮𝘢 is actually another guy who is a producer, like another senior producer at CNN. And he apparently, as far as I know, because I don't know any updates to this story, but apparently he still works at CNN as a senior producer. So I don't know what the heck is going on. I don't know what, and CNN will continuously evade and not answer questions when it comes to 𝘱𝘿𝘬𝘮𝘢. So this is an additional producer. We understand? An additional producer at CNN currently still probably has a job. And he was exposed by Project Veritas to have been recorded, soliciting, or not necessarily soliciting, but kind of expressing his fantasy about, his love for underage girls. And, I think it was like his stepdaughter to be or something like that. Something egregious. And this guy still has a job with CNN. So that was an additional guy. This is John Griffin, who's currently in custody. And by the way, CNN didn't fire John Griffin upon the charges. They said, we don't know enough yet. And they waited, and then they fired him. Just doesn't seem like a very serious crime to CNN, apparently. Prior to his arrest and indictment, we had no knowledge about this case, CNN spokesperson told the Fox News Digital. The media outlet also said no CNN-owned devices issued to Griffin went missing or reported lost into September of 2020 when the investigators said that they seized some of his electronics. Last year, Griffin moved out of the $4 million Connecticut home when he shared his wife due to marital troubles. Sources have told Fox News Digital. He was once living alone in Stamford when the FBI arrested him last month. Griffin's attorney, David Kirby, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. If convicted, the former TV producer could face life in prison. He pleaded not guilty and is being held without bail in Vermont. Sick story. Sick. Ken says, CNN gets away with a lot of stuff. I agree. Arla says, thank you to Daily TrafficK. You're doing so much to expose these monsters. It makes me cry, but happy. I've been trying to tell people for years, but they think I'm crazy. You're not crazy, Arla. This stuff happens every single day. Every single day. Scott says, all three-letter agencies need to be questioned more often. I agree. It's getting too insane. I mean, you wait an entire year. This dude is consistently abusing children, and we wait an entire year until we hear anything about it. This is insane. It's insane. Let's pivot on to the next story. Police in Spain, they arrest 37 people for sexual exploitation of minors. 37 people have been arrested in Spain for sexually exploiting minors and drug trafficking. 10 victims, all minors aged between ages 14 and 16 years old, were released from a criminal network of prostitution-related activities and drug trafficking. The national police confirmed the arrest on Monday on Twitter. The list of suspects include people from Dominica, Nigeria, Romania, Cuba, Spain, and Morocco. A police investigation revealed that one victim was imprisoned for 3 days in a room where a female suspect managed a drugstore. They found that the suspect asked clients if they wanted to have sex with a minor locked in a room. The victim managed to escape and asked for help. The other victims were sexually abused and raped. They said that they were contacted through social media and promised money in exchange for selling drugs. The suspects were found to have provided drugs to the girls, causing them to become addicts and reliant on the traffickers, which again, as I've explained before, this is a very common tactic used by traffickers or pimps. What they do is they get these victims hooked on very aggressively addicting substances like heroin, opioids, things of that nature, and it gets them reeled in and hooked. So, if you think about it again, these victims, they have like this quota. They have to give this amount of money up to the trafficker or the pimp. And so with that hook of also substance abuse, like they get hooked on these drugs, they also have to go back to their pimp and their trafficker or their exploiter back for these drugs as well. So they have this obligation to continuously cycle, giving them the money and then them getting this drug, giving them the money and then getting this drug. So it does become an abusive cycle, but this is how these traffickers and pimps do utilize this tactic sometimes. So 8 of the suspects are currently in prison. One of the suspects is 52-year-old Moroccan Samoy Flyly. All right, pivoting on. This is coming from 𝘏𝐴IT8.com. Man accused of authorizing child to perform sexual act. And this is coming from Arkansas. Northeast Arkansas, a Northeast Arkansas man is behind bars accused of rape and child sexual exploitation. Izard County Sheriff's deputies arrested 50-year-old Quentin Cahoon on Friday, January 7th, on suspicion of one count of rape, and Class Y felony. He is also charged with 15 counts of employing or consenting the use of child in a sexual performance, 1 count of sexual indecency with the child, and 9 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. According to court documents, the alleged incidents took place between July 1st, 2021 and July 7th. Cahoon is being held on Izard County Detention Center in lieu of a $100,000 bond. Again, these bonds are way too low. Way too low. Way too low. I actually did a story today in Austin. I did a story today on my main channel where in Austin there was this judge who there was 2 judges. The first judge, he recommended a $1 million bond. The second judge came in, scratched that, and said, "Nah, we're going to actually do a $50,000 bond," which if you only post 10% of it, you can walk out. So $5,000 in this case. I don't know what the laws are in Arkansas, but if they are similar to Texas or, to Austin's case, if they can post like a percentage bond as low as 10%, they can just walk out. Insanity. All right, coming out of the next story coming out of Fox 23, Tulsa police arrest a man for sex trafficking. This is Darius Johnson, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and this does give a content warning as it does describe sexual violence. Tulsa police announced on Facebook that they had arrested a man for raping a woman and forcing her into prostitution. Police arrested 29-year-old Darius Johnson after receiving information about him and his involvement in pandering and human trafficking earlier this week. According to the victim, Johnson forced her into prostitution in Florida, Texas, California, and Oklahoma City. Johnson told the victim he was coming to Tulsa to force her to come into more work. The victim also said Johnson raped her. Investigators learned Johnson would be traveling in a Dodge Challenger in the early mornings hours of Thursday, January 6th. The Tulsa police helicopter spotted Johnson in his vehicle in Tulsa. He was arrested for pandering after former conviction of a felony, AFCF, and human trafficking. His bond is set at $700,000. As the investigation continues, police say Johnson could face a rape charge. So I'm glad that people are getting taken off the streets. But again, these bonds get lower and lower and lower where they can bail out very easily. The next story coming out of KINY 800/94.9 radio news, 35 years in jail for an Anchorage sex trafficker. Coming out of Juneau, Alaska, an Anchorage man has been sentenced to 35 years in prison for sex trafficking minors, child pornography, and illegal possession of a firearm. 35-year-old Tristan Jamal Grant, as known as 𝘱𝑗, was sentenced in the U.S. District Court in Anchorage. He was sentenced on 5 counts of sex trafficking, 3 counts of production of child porn, and 2 counts of being a felon in possession of firearms. According to court documents between October and December of 2018, Grant conspired with another person to traffic 2 minors, one 15 years old and another 17-year-old. Grant was arrested by Anchorage Police Department following a shooting on December 12, 2018. When arrested, Grant was in possession of 2 weapons. Because Grant had previously been convicted in a felony, possessions of those guns was illegal. Grant remained in custody and was indicted by a federal grand jury. He escaped from custody during a court-ordered release to meet his attorney. Grant was captured and later sentenced to 3 years of imprisonment for charges related to his escape, which he will serve consecutively to the above sentence. Grant was convicted of the charges following a bench trial in April of 2021. So you do see, I mean, a pattern here, right? I don't really have to educate you on basis terms, do I? Because like, this is just generic stuff. This is generic. These people should not be back on the streets like this. Like he was already convicted. He had firearms he wasn't supposed to own. And then he did this to, to some female girls. Like, it's insanity. It's insanity that these people are out on the streets. It's a new epidemic. All right. Other news coming from Nigeria. The Nigerian Tribune reports that police and NAPTIP bus trafficking syndicate rescued 38 boys and girls in Benue. No fewer than 38 people, mostly young boys and girls, were intercepted at separate places in Benue State on Friday and Saturday where they were being trafficked outside the state. The first indicted involved 6 victims and a suspect who were picked up on Friday at a motor park in Makurdi, the Benue State capital. According to 𝘿𝑗𝑗 Zonal Commander, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, Mrs. Ivorian Bai, in a statement made available to newsmen on Saturday, said that the suspects were rounded up following the receipt of a call from a concerned citizen. According to her, during the early hours of the morning on Friday, the 7th, January 2022, the Makurdi Zona Command received a call from a concerned citizen from Doku Motor Part at I can't pronounce these names. Sorry. Wuru Kum Makurdi, who alerted the command of a suspected case of human trafficking involving 7 ladies, of which was a suspected trafficker. Officers of the command arrived at Doku Motor Park some few minutes after receiving the call and met 6 ladies and the suspect, who said that they were traveling to Lagos. Sorry, this is a mouthful. The victims were between the ages of 16 and 24 years by facial analysis. At the time of the arrival, the Nigerian police were also on ground because they were also called on the matter. The further said that about this amount of money was found on the suspect alongside some foreign currencies, which raised the suspicion that the victims were moved to a destination alongside the country yet to be determined. The ladies were all moved from the office of the Nigerian police, and the company of the officers of the NAPTIP and the police were carrying out the preliminary investigation onward, transferred to the NAPTIP for further investigation and possible prosecution. It was gathered that a young woman identified as Miss Linda Anjbandu Akisima, who is in charge of the young girls and boys, claimed that they were returning from Osun State, where they would be schooling after visiting Benue for the first festive period. She claimed that they were running an orphanage home and the name Akasima Child Care Foundation, and it was registered in Benue, but the operational in Osun State. So, good thing that these children were rescued. It seems to be that this was like an orphanage by facade, but really that they were doing more nefarious things. And I'm just glad that they were able to rescue these kids. And like this reflects, this happens in every part of the world. All walks of life are affected by trafficking. And so this is why I report these things on a nightly basis, Monday through Friday. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Guys, thanks so much for also rating the podcast. If you guys are listening in via audio podcast, please give this podcast 5 stars. And for those of you that are watching me live on YouTube, thank you so much for just wanting to be informed of this stuff. It's very important and it's not talked about a lot. That's why I report it on my own podcast. So I truly appreciate you all. So with that being said, that is tonight's news for Monday, or for, Tuesday morning if you listen to me in the morning. Thank you all so much again for your support. Please be sure to share this podcast with someone you know, and also tune back in tomorrow. I love you all. I hope you have a great night, and I hope that you rest easy. Thank you so much again. I will catch you in the next podcast. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natly Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.